we go. All right, we'll call this meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Roberts.
Here.
Councilmember Clark.
Here.
Councilmember Stokes.
Here.
Councilmember Graves.
Present.
Councilmember Saper.
Here.
Councilmember Tull.
Here.
Councilmember Smith.
Here.
Councilmember Fitzgerald.
Here. Thank you. This evening, the Pledge of Allegiance will be led by Councilmember Roberts. Next item, comments from the public. Anyone from the public wishing to speak this evening? Or we can approve the agenda first. How about that?
Move to
Let's approve the
approve.
agenda.
Second.
All in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Comments from the public. Anyone from the public wishing to speak this evening, please step up to the microphone. Seeing none, move on to the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Move to approve.
Second.
All in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Item 13.
Appointment of municipal judge for 2-year term and approval of contract. Bill number 7754, ordinance number 9551.
I mean, that this is fairly self-explanatory here. Judge Fuller, I believe it says in here, hits the mandatory age for judges in the upcoming year. So with that, I have chosen to nominate Anthony Bologna, who currently serves as our, where is he somewhere? I swear I saw him. Where is he? Oh, he's all the way in the back now. He's moved to the back. Who is our current, who's our current city prosecutor, and this would put him into the judgeship when Judge Fuller's term concludes. So, Councilmember Saper.
One thing that wasn't really clear in what I was reading here is when he would actually take over the judgeship. Would that be on the retirement of our current
No,
judge? Or would there be a dual judgeship for a period? Or
My understanding is there will be a dual judgeship. There's a little bit of a gray area here because the next item following this would be to appoint a new city attorney, which would replace Anthony Bologna. And Anthony Bologna cannot leave his job until the new prosecutor has all his credentials and stuff in the state system in place. We have to have a prosecutor.
Yes.
And so until that date happens, until, assuming West Rogers gets approved, until he gets all his credentials and everything needed from the state, then Anthony Bologna would continue in his same role. And then he'd become, I'm going to say, an associate judge. An associate judge.
Yeah.
So we'd have 2 judges for a period of time.
All right, thank you.
This gives a lot of training overlap between all parties involved.
I
to kind
thought
of
that's
help.
what it was, but it wasn't clear.
There's a little bit of that, but it's also a gray date depending on how long the state takes to do their whatever it is.
So-
Kim can tell you what that is. I don't know.
So the municipal court is a subcomponent of the circuit courts, which are beholden to OSCA. So that is a statewide portal, and it does take some time for any movement in the judge or prosecutor to actually have the credentialing system so that they have access to the files. So this overlap allows for both the new prosecutor and the new judge to be able to go through the credentialing process as well as some training. The state moved over to Show Me Courts, which is a special proprietary platform, and it does require entry at the state level for access down to the municipal court level.
First reading.
Second.
Okay, further council member comments? Councilmember Saper.
I assume that this discussion further clarifies this. Does it add to the ordinance itself, or is the ordinance stand alone, as is?
For which one? For both contracts?
Yeah, for both. Or
So
should we
the-
have something in there to cover this period,
No,
this
so the
gray area,
the
so it's
effective
not
date-
gray?
No, the effective date of the new judge is not till April 19th. So although the city council is considering it today, it actually would not become effective for Anthony Bologna's contract for the judgeship is April 19th. The new prosecutor's one would start tomorrow, should the city council adopt that. In order for us to register our agents into the state portal, we have to have the authorizing city council actions.
There you go. Much
And
better explained than I could.
It does say in the contract right here that from April 18th through July 12th, that he will help train or will be trained by the new municipal judge. So,
Further council member comments? Seeing none, there's first and second. All in favor, please say yes.
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 Opposed, no. Motion carries.
An ordinance approving appointment of Anthony W. Bologna as municipal judge and adopting a contract by and between the City of North Kansas City, Missouri and Anthony W. Bologna for professional legal services to serve as municipal judge of the city.
I move that Bill number 7754 be placed on second and final reading and pass as ordinance number 9551.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Roberts?
Yes.
Councilmember Clark?
Yes.
Councilmember Stokes?
Yes.
Councilmember Graves?
Yes.
Councilmember Saper?
Yes.
Councilmember Toll?
Yes.
Councilmember Smith?
Yes.
Councilmember Fitzgerald.
Yes.
An ordinance approving appointment of Anthony W. Bologna as municipal judge and adopting a contract by and between the City of North Kansas City, Missouri and Anthony W. Bologna for professional legal services to serve as municipal judge of the city. Item 14, appointment of city attorney and approval of contract, Bill number 7755, ordinance number 9552.
All right, briefly touched on this before. Now that Anthony Bologna has been appointed judge, we now have an opening for city attorney, and I will be appointing Wes Rogers into that role.
First reading.
Second.
Any council member comments? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say yes.
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 Opposed, no. Motion carries.
An ordinance appointing Wesley M. Rogers to serve as city attorney and approving and adopting a contract by and between the City of North Kansas City, Missouri and Wesley M. Rogers for professional legal services to serve as city attorney.
I move that Bill number 7755 be placed on second and final reading and pass as ordinance number 9552.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Roberts?
Yes.
Councilmember Clark?
Yes.
Councilmember Stokes?
Yes.
Councilmember Graves?
Yes.
Councilmember Saper?
Yes.
Councilmember Toll?
Yes.
Councilmember Smith?
Yes.
Councilmember Fitzgerald.
Yes.
An ordinance appointing Wesley M. Rogers to serve as city attorney and approving and adopting a contract by and between the City of North Kansas City, Missouri and Wesley M. Rogers for professional legal services to serve as city attorney. Item 50,
Yeah.
discussion of service contract with KCATA, fixed route and flex services.
Welcome back to North Kansas City.
as well, in case there are any questions that I am unable to answer. He's also a great resource. So first off, this evening, I'm not presenting a contract that will be coming on the 21st, but we do have some updates on the contract and the language is going to be. So first, I'm going to provide you with some ridership updates and then talk about our new updates to the contract. And I'm also happy to welcome any questions at any time throughout the presentation. All right, I can click here. There we go. Again, that's just the agenda. But first, this is your ridership update for the Flex. This is now the complete data for 2022. As you can see, the weekday ridership dropped by about 0.75 of a person, 0.8 of a person. However, Saturday and Sunday went up remarkably from 2021, and I contribute that to the increase in steady service on Saturdays and Sundays. Is what that is. So I wouldn't read too much into the weekday, the 0.8 drop of a person, but I'm really excited about the updates, or the growth in the Saturday and Sundays. This is a different way of looking at your fixed route ridership. What I presented here is for routes 201 to 238. So you have ridership inside your jurisdiction and then total ridership. So what you can really see from this is that 13% of the total ridership for the 201 took place inside North Kansas City, and 28% of the 238 took place inside North Kansas City. This is the same slide you saw pretty much in December. It's again a recommendation to not continue fares on the 298 Flex because the cost to collect far outweighs the cost to receive, or the amount you would collect. All right, so this is where we're really interested to talk about is the contract update. So first off, we are prepared to enter a language in the contract that has a fee adjustment for missed trips or missed runs. What we are proposing for the 201 and the 238 is a trip completion above 98%. There would not be a reimbursement. Below 98%, so 97.9 below, we would reimburse at the rate of the cost per hour. Yes?
Councilmember Smith.
Okay, I appreciate that you've looked into this. When you say the 98 and the 97.9, is that over a day, or is that over the entire length of the contract? Like, what time frame are we looking at?
Monthly, that would be a monthly.
Okay, so monthly, 98%. Okay, and do we know, like, ballpark, how many routes we're running in a month? Like, what would 98% equate to? How many missed pickups?
Well, the 201 runs about 30 minutes, and the 238 runs at an hour. Gosh, do you know how many runs we have in a day? How many runs we have a day? On those two routes? I can get that for you on the 21st, but I don't have that exact.
Okay, and I appreciate that. I struggle when people, generally the morning bus rides, like if people are missing those, like they're missing work, and that's what I struggle with the most. And 98% sounds like a really good number, but if we're missing a few mornings a month, that's still not going to be, acceptable service level, at least in my opinion. So that's why I kind of want to get a little further around that, like how many missed trips is 2%?
Sure. So just for some reference points, so the Kansas City contract, which has similar language, is set at 97%. We've moved this up to 98 because we're confident in our service levels. Some notes on the last January numbers. The 201 was at 99.3% trip completion. The 238 was at 100% trip completion. So we are definitely not seeing those numbers of missed trips that we were experiencing in 2022. We only expect that to get better as the year goes along.
Okay, and then, let's see, we'll reimburse for hours of service not completed. How is that, how's that calculation going to be handled? If, say, we drop below the 98% and there's a reimbursement, are we reimbursed, 2%, 2.1% of the contract price? How does that look?
Sure.
We're actually going through a revamp process with how we're doing with Kansas City, Missouri.
Okay.
And so it's actually going to be based off on your total monthly ridership or total complete trips that would happen. So anything below that, we're talking up to 0.1, is what we would start to measure at. And then we calculate that from the total and break it down on our cost per hour, which is $145 per hour. Is what we previously used. We're reevaluating that calculation to see if it's gone up in the last year. It might be a little bit higher. But anything that adds up to a full hour, we pay you back that $145. So any of those minutes missed, we calculate up to accumulate to make sure that all missed service in the region is paid back to you fully. And we share that out monthly.
Okay.
What is our current trip completion percentage?
Last month, one was 100%, the other one was 98.2, so you're above the 98%.
Okay. Councilmember Saper.
In terms of having availability of equipment, that's probably not quite as much of an issue as having drivers. And I assume that you have some triage system about which routes get the drivers that are available. Where do these routes fit into that schema?
So neither one of us work with the transportation department, but we can find that out on what their system is. We do get what we call a work order every morning on trips that are missed, and I will say that it is not consistent, so I do try to spread the pain. The only routes that are usually exempt from that are your max routes, which
They are exempt from that.
those are usually the ones that are exempt. I never see a max route on there, but I see every other route show up from time to time.
I would like that information.
Yeah, we can find that.
All right.
All right.
Continue on, please.
All right, so this gets into the other part of the contract and how we are cost allocating the cost of these routes to you guys. So historically, the 201 North Kansas City has not been asked to pay for the 201. However, we are receiving some pressure to make sure each community is paying for the fair share of their routes within their community. So we have developed a method of cost allocation that we believe is more equitable and more fair as a way to distribute the cost of these routes through these communities. So first here, this is a graph of the 201, and this is the stops and the ridership, the people getting off and getting on the buses. And we highlighted Gladstone and North Kansas City because that's the two routes, or the two cities this route goes through, besides Kansas City. And so as you can see here, most people are getting off and on within Kansas City, with a few people in Gladstone and North Kansas City. And this is that same graph for the 238. Again, this is also just southbound on both of these. If you did northbound, it would flip, essentially. But as you can see here, the 238 both goes a lot farther through North Kansas City, and there also is considerably more ridership on the 238 from North Kansas City than from than from the 201. So the model we're calling a service consumed model, and that is basing the cost of the route to the community based on the actual people getting off and getting on the buses. And so that is a, we say, a more equitable way instead of just doing miles and hours, because miles and hours is not necessarily equal to what is actual the benefit to the community. But this is a method that says these are the people getting off and on, and these are what's being used, and this is why we believe this is the proper cost of this route for you. Kansas City would still be asked to pay for 50% of routes of your cost. So for example, if I go back here, the 201, 13% of the ridership is within your area. So you would be paying for that 6.5%, excuse me, and Kansas City would pay 6.5% of that portion, in addition to the rest of the route that goes through their city. Before we move on to Iris, are there any questions around that model?
Councilmember Smith.
Do we have an estimate, had we been paying for the 201 in the last month, what that would have looked like using this system? Like, how much would it have cost us? 'Cause I have no concept of numbers here.
I don't unfortunately have numbers here. The 201 is a pretty straight shot through North Kansas City, but it also is a route that can't be rerouted around North Kansas City very well without costing the city of Kansas City considerably more funds. I apologize, I don't have exact numbers of what that estimate would be at this
So
moment.
we're paying for the 238 right now. What is our fixed route cost in the contract? Do we have like a monthly fixed route for the 238?
So the way the contract is laid out, it combines both the flex cost and the fixed route cost.
It's broken out though, like we have a fixed route and a flex segment of cost because we've looked at those independently, or is that?
Under the current contract, that is not true. Actually, it's blended. We're looking to break these out so you can see the true cost of all services. We've had a lot of questions from the previous group that led the ATA in terms of how the financing was done on these. So we're intentionally breaking these all apart so that everyone can see a clear, transparent look at how things are paid for and looked for so that you can see your true costs.
So we have, I mean, I know because this has been something we've kicked around a lot, is we have looked at independent pricing for the flex because we looked at even nerfing the entire system at one point because it was so expensive. And then there was a fixed route amount. So I know that those two numbers exist somewhere. But I guess what I'm getting at is it was a much smaller portion of the contract for the 238, and now we're going to add on the cost of the 201. I'm trying to understand dollars and cents, like what's that going to look like?
Right.
And I assume we'll see that with the contract proposal.
So, yeah, you will see the contract proposal. When we did the rough draft of this internally, this model actually moves you down just a little bit less than what you are currently paying on the current 238. So some of that funding on the 238 could move to the 201. I'm not expecting to see a major increase on that. We intentionally moved this model because as an enclave community is what we consider North Kansas City, the buses were going to run through here anyway. It doesn't make sense to make you pay for miles and hours. It makes you to pay for service consumed. So we want to bring you down to an equitable fair share of what that service would cost. And from what we saw internally, is a little bit lower than what you were previously paying on a miles and hours basis.
Overall, like as a total, it'll be
Only
lower.
it'll be a little bit more when you add in the North Oak, but you're paying less on the ratio for the Meadowbrook?
The
Yeah.
238.
Yeah, 238. So that actually came in less. So collectively, it's a little bit more than the total you were paying, but it's not significant.
Okay.
Councilmember Saper.
Yeah, I would really like to see those numbers, because otherwise, we're just talking with nothing. We have nothing to really discuss without those numbers. How soon can you get those to us?
So my contract draft is due to our finance committee tomorrow by end of day. So my plan is to have this, the contract drafted with the numbers and the financials by end of day tomorrow. And as soon as I have those, Kim will have those.
Further, was there more to this? Oh,
I have numbers. Hi, I have numbers. These are legacy numbers, so these are from 2021. So the fixed route typically is 18% of our contract. It's around $60,000. The flex route reflects 82% of our contract, and it is around $300,000, just so you guys know. So we historically spend a lot more money on our flex route than we ever do on our fixed route. So just to kind of, again, those are some legacy numbers. They have presented that their fixed cost has gone up. Everybody kind of knows the cost of employment has gone up. I don't have a year because what was proposed earlier this year was a 3-month contract, so I can't really amortize that over
Are
time.
those numbers a 6-month contract from 21?
So I took a 6-month contract and I doubled it.
Okay, so
Because I couldn't
those are
find my
annual numbers.
records on
Okay.
my, if I had my laptop and access to my files, I would be able to give you a more true-up number. So
Thank you.
literally what I did was I took the last contract, which was a 6-month contract, and doubled it.
Okay.
All right,
All right.
continue on.
All right.
Oh, or was that? Oh,
So now we can talk about Iris, which you may have heard about. It's been in the news a little bit. It's something we're very excited about, something to talk about. So let's go ahead and get into it. So Iris is a on-demand point-to-point service that's going to be going live in the Northland within the boundaries of Kansas City on March 15th. As you can see here, there are zones, and so it's a zone-based fare structure. It's going to begin to covering all of the Northland just within the boundaries of Kansas City. And then within those zones, you can go between zones, you can connect to fixed route points, and then there's the fare structure that breaks all that down. So stop to stop within a zone is $3. If you go to a hub, as in a fixed route location, that remains zero fare. Zone to zone is $4, and then to the airport is $10. And what's also really great about this is that these communities who buy into this can adjust their fares as needed. So if there's too much demand, we can increase fares to possibly reduce demand and can keep our capacity going. So service parameters, anybody within Kansas City can use it. So you don't have to be a citizen of Kansas City to use it. So if you're just visiting Kansas City, it's an option. You can access the service in app via the web or the phone. Fares can be paid on the app via credit cards and also the cash within
So
the
let
vehicles.
me ask, if I walk to the north side of 32nd Avenue in North Kansas City, well, that would then be Kansas City.
Yes,
I can get on this app and get a $10 ride to the airport.
yes, that is how that would work.
Just, okay.
Yeah.
Fantastic, thank you.
So specialized in-app and vehicle accessibility, so wheelchair ramps and bike storage on the vehicles that are being used. This service is not being operated by the KCATA. It's being managed by the KCATA. It's being operated by a company called WHC, which you might also recognize as Z-Trip. So these are the phases for the implementation of Iris. So phase 1, which goes live a week from tomorrow, is just the Northland. Phase 1B will be by the NFL draft to bring people down to the area around where the draft's going to be, so Union Station and the other entertainment districts. Phase 2, by May to July, will be the entire city of Kansas City. And so why we're talking to this about you, even though it's just Kansas City, is that the city of Kansas City wants the option for other cities to buy into this program. So this is an opportunity we talked about in the past, combining the Gladstone Flex with North Kansas City Flex. This isn't exactly that, but this would be an option if to replace possibly the 98 Flex. We wouldn't do that without talking to you guys, and this is your option and choice. But this is something we're excited about, something we think is going to be great for some of those lower density areas for people to use transit and be less reliant on their own vehicles.
Councilmember Smith.
Do we have any idea what the cost would be for us to buy into this program and make it available point to point from North Kansas City?
I don't think we've done that estimate yet for North Kansas City unless.
It's $45 per revenue vehicle hour.
Yeah.
So you guys have one vehicle, correct?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, I was trying to hide from not stand over somebody's shoulder. It's about $45 per revenue vehicle hour. So I think you guys are about 12 hours per day. I think 10 to 10, is that right? Or 6 to 6?
6 to 6.
6 to 6. So if you do it Monday through Friday, you can calculate it out. I mean, I can do it for you real quick if you'd like me to.
45 times 12, whatever that comes out to.
Yeah.
Times however many days.
Minus 10 days for holidays.
Is it $300,000 or less than $300,000?
Last estimate I did for Parkville, which had about similar numbers, was about $258,000.
What do you get?
You're
I
at
have it around
197.
200,000, so it would be a savings to our current program.
So we'd save $100,000 and open the entire metro up. How soon can we start?
And for, like he was saying, within your jurisdiction, you can say for trips originating here in North Kansas City, you set the fare.
Councilmember Saper.
What kind of vehicles would you be using?
Sprinter vans.
Yeah, I got it. Yeah, I designed the service, so I can help you out here. Right now, at the start of this, we're looking at 20 electric vehicles. They're Chevy Volts, and then there's going to be a mixture of wheelchair-accessible vans and then minivans and sedans that are going to fill out the void, scaling to 30 and then potentially 40 vehicles as we grow.
How many passengers can you take on one vehicle?
On one vehicle, the minivans will seat 6 with everybody in a seatbelt. The Volts, I think, seat 5. And so you can take as many people as there are seatbelts. What we look to do is do a share ride model. So if we picked up 2 people with you, we look to kind of move around the city and pick somebody else and try to drop them all off in an efficient manner. Our parameters are pretty simple. Everyone's picked up within 20 minutes, no rides more than 30 minutes. Looking for productivity, at least 2.5 rides per vehicle per hour, which is pretty solid ridership when you're trying to do a point-to-point like service like this. Less than a taxi, but more than paratransit.
Further questions on this? No.
All right. So moving forward, I'll be back here on the 21st to present a 9-month contract that will be, for the moment, it'll be for the 201, 238, and the 298 flex. And so, again, I will have numbers. I have to have them by the end of the day tomorrow, and once I have them, I'll send them over to Kim so she can share she would like. So it'll include the missed trip reimbursement and the service consumed model for the ratios of how the cost is allocated. And then Iris, if you guys would like, will be implemented at a later date. Yes?
And you see Iris as being able to replace the Flex service that we have now?
I would like to I think that's a perfectly reasonable option.
Okay.
All right. You're done? Questions? Seem like we've exhausted most of the questions already. Isn't it nice you get to the question side, no more questions? Fantastic, thank you, and we'll see you again in 2 weeks.
Sounds great. Thank you so much, Council.
Thank you. Next item, please.
YMCA flooring discussion, item 16.
Kim.
Good evening, Mayor and Council.
Good evening.
So
Oh.
I was actually,
Oh.
yeah, I'm waiting for the
I
PowerPoint.
thought you were
here.
already.
Sorry.
Welcome.
Anthony, I was actually wondering did you want to kind of recap how we got here?
Anybody? There is a floor. It got wet. You no longer use the floor.
Sorry, it was not
There.
good enough. So on December 25th, 2022, a water line inside the YMCA on the north wall froze and ruptured. The line broke during the holiday closure of the facility and was not discovered until the following morning on December 26th. So in response, the YMCA began to reach out to different entities to look at the damage, the extent of the damage and possible remediation. The assessment concluded, again, the water line connection to a drinking fountain in the north gym wall, which is featured or seen right there. It's right when you walk in to the gym facility, froze and ruptured and was leaking through the entire night. So it actually managed to work its way under the entire floor system of the gym through the, which is seen as they pull up the volleyball post connections. They can pull those up and see that there was water under those all the way across the floor. So the service companies decided that remedial action of drying the floor would not be possible. I'm not sure if you have, yeah. So the current floor system is layers of plywood on top of kind of a foam rubberized system and then the actual gym floor. So there's actually no voids in between to do any kind of forced air drying of this system. Initial inspections kind of showed cupping of the floor system, see if I can find it, closer to the water fountain area. And again, the YMCA has been kind of going day by day looking at, where are areas they can open up, what they need to kind of control just for safety reasons.
We're going to show just a couple of photos because honestly, I had not heard the terminology of cupping before. So if you can go to the next one, I think that one really, if you can see these grooves, that floor is supposed to be flat. So as you get closer and closer to the water fountain, that kind of U shape in the wood is more and more pronounced. What we have been told is that U shape is going to get worse and worse and worse and spread throughout the entire floor. So we have been told that the floor is a total loss and will need a complete replacement. We have brought several people with us. I'd like to kind of maybe introduce a few of the people with us. I'd like to introduce Andrea Toney. Andrea is the new executive director for the North Kansas City YMCA.
Yes. Good evening.
Good
Thank
evening.
you. Thank you for welcoming us here with you today. I'm excited to work with each of you.
So we also have Mark Hewlett with the YMCA, as well as Dwayne. So we have a couple of questions to ask from the city council. We would like some direction on what to replace the floor with. We do have a couple of thoughts on what, from a maintenance standpoint, as well as a programming standpoint, maybe what the floor should be replaced with, as well as what funding mechanism we should use for this repair.
Is there,
There's a bunch of questions here. Sorry, Councilmember Toll.
I was looking at Kim,
I'll
sorry.
let you lead off. No, you're good.
Does insurance not cover?
So insurance is one of the things. We did reach out to our insurance carrier about what it would look like if they were to cover this loss. Wouldn't say we got a very direct response, but claiming it on our insurance would absolutely be one of the paths forward. Also, paying for it out of the gaming fund would be another. Again, we kind of have talked before that we have experienced several high-dollar losses over the last couple of years through our insurance. There are kind of two paths forward. So there would be, and I'm going to kind of broadly go over these two. They have pros and cons with each. One of them would be to replace the floor with another wooden floor of this quality. They actually don't make this particular flooring anymore. This is, Dwayne, I may need you to come up here because this is more your wheelhouse than mine.
Can we
What
skip?
Dwayne has talked to me
option
about
that's
is
not
the fact that the, go ahead and talk about the phase 1 and phase 2 of the wood.
Okay.
Here we go.
Dwayne Merzars, Municipal Services Superintendent for the City of North Kansas City. I do buildings and grounds and transportation. The floor that's existing, the floor right now is a #1 maple floor, and it's a 3-layer system. The floor has 3 layers that is actually stacked on top of each other. There is no sleeper space underneath the floor, so there's no way to dry that floor out. No matter what we would do, there's no way. It's water has gotten, the floor is 15,000 square feet. The water has progressed farther and farther and farther, and after a while, it starts to cause the cupping, of course, but it'll actually start the floor to heave. It'll start to heave up eventually. So we looked at some alternatives Kim asked me to look at some alternatives. So I've reached out to look at some of the more modern opportunities that we have. We still have the existing wood floor that we could do, but we could never, well, I won't say never, but it would be very hard to get #1 maple. The main factory that makes #1 maple is no longer in existence. So if we were to go back with a wooden floor, it could still be maple, but it would have to be a lesser maple than what we have, meaning that there will be more discoloration and just more knots in the wood.
Councilmember Smith.
I appreciate you looked into the alternatives. It seems like wood floors are just not going to be the thing we do. So, I mean, you could keep telling us about the different options for wood, but
Okay, with that being said,
Hey, I want to know where that maple wood came from. Come on. I'm just kidding.
you want to keep talking about the wood?
I do. If you want to know, I mean,
All right.
I consulted with my partner who played D1 basketball. She's like, please do not do rubber courts. That's what messed up my back and,
All right.
and ankles. So I would
All right.
move away from rubber, but
All
I'm
right.
still exploring wood.
We shall continue the surface.
right, go ahead.
Discussion.
well, there's basically 2 options. You have a synthetic floor or you have a wooden floor. I suppose you could have a concrete floor, but the going thing nowadays is everybody's going to the sport floor, which the new synthetic floor actually has been rated for a better consistency for the athletes, where they're finding some of the sport floors, there's less injuries when they fall, less sliding on the floor, and generally just better and safer. than the wooden floor. There's some options, the options in the small, the wheel, those are, this product here is called Mondo. There are many other products out there that are synthetic, but this here is called Mondo. The recommendation would be to do a 10 mil, which is the big sheet, to go with that thickness. So that would be installed over the existing floor per recommendations by the manufacturer. That is the other option. Yes, ma'am.
When you say installed over the existing floor, you mean
I
over
mean,
this-
they would have to remove all of the maple flooring and the flooring that's there now and install it over the concrete floor that's existing to the
take
building.
out the layers of plywood and all of
Yeah,
that?
yeah, all of that has to come out.
So on your screens right now, there actually is a very similar flooring already at the YMCA in use. This is the aerobic room. And I think I might call up maybe Andrea, because we did consult with the YMCA on programming. Again, they are in charge of day-to-day. They actually have this particular flooring in a lot of their locations. So Andrea, do you feel comfortable, and Mark
All right.
coming up?
Well, okay, so are we generally set on what you wanted to say on the different floor types?
As far as yes,
Okay.
I can answer any kind of questions.
well,
I did
then
did a lot of research. Synthetic floor seems to be the most popular floor going down right now. Just not only for the maintenance. The maintenance of it is completely different. The two are completely different. The synthetic floor is much user-friendly. The wooden floor will take twice as long to install versus a synthetic floor at the time that we do the work.
All right, Councilmember Toll.
Can you give us a cost comparison and how both floors will handle water? Because I assume if you come in with wood, you would do it in such a way that we'd be able to dry it next time, right?
Yes, that would have a sleeper system that would be installed underneath the two layers. The top layer being the surface that they play on, there's one layer underneath that, and then it's the sleeper system, which it could be dried underneath.
So is there,
Cost-wise, they're completely different.
So cost-wise, if we were to go back with a wooden floor, it could be anywhere between $800,000 to $1 million.
Yeah.
You would lose use of the facility for.
Was that a billion?
Million.
I don't know.
800,000 to 1
million.
million.
Okay.
Not a billion.
Yeah.
I know, that's what I thought I heard at first.
We're not
No.
going to fly planes out of it.
Yeah.
We're the fanciest YMCA in the country.
There are a couple of programming accommodations, so we would have to close down, or the YMCA would have to close down that area for a considerable amount of time. The flooring has to sit and adjust to its new home if it's wood, and then you have to do sealing. There are a lot of fumes and vapors that come with that as well, and because of the way that the YMCA is kind of like this double-tier open area, I'm unsure if we'd be able to contain the fumes.
what's a considerable amount of time?
Probably 6 to 8 weeks. So for the manufactured, it's probably around 400 to 500,000. The install time is fairly quick. So we wouldn't have the fumes once it goes down. The concrete does have to be, there's some work to prepare the concrete. There is a adhesive that is placed down, and then it literally kind of sticks from what I've seen.
Right. And there is some prep work where we have to dry the floor out and clean the floor, of course, because it's wet under there now.
And what would that time estimate be?
It's all together in this, it's all figured in the same thing. The wood floor is going to take twice as long as a synthetic floor. So it takes twice as long, and that's if you can get the wood. That's not, there's a lot of shortage issues with a lot of products, and there are some concerns with being able to get the maple flooring.
The synthetic floor is also moisture resistant.
Yes.
I'm eventually going to call on you. No. Is it related to the floor types? Because then I'm going to have the YMCA come up and present.
Yes, it
Okay,
is.
Okay.
And this is a little different, but we do know that in cold weather, pipes freeze, and we should take precautions to keep that from freezing. I'm just wondering if the YMCA, the operator of the city facility, was negligent in not providing enough heat in that building to prevent that from happening.
Here, I can speak on what I found. What we found was when the fountain was removed from the wall, you'll see it in the one picture, the fountains were removed from the wall. The pipes were insulated except for the water hammer arrestor on one of the pipes. What that is on a water line in the old days, there'd be a T with an L, and it goes straight up, and it has a cap on top. What that does is when you turn the water on and off, the water works in there as a buffer, and it works as a shock absorber.
No water
Right,
pounding.
yeah, so no water hammering.
Yeah.
But what had happened was everything, what I found when we took the unit, or when the units were out, everything was insulated except that one piece. So that one piece was exposed to the cold weather. So that's the piece that actually froze. Now, as far as the heat for the YMCA would probably have to speak on that.
I would like to know if they.
And I will say one other thing. So to correct the problem and prevent it happening again, I met with a local plumber. So what we've done is we researched everything that was existing, and we're going to redo some of the plumbing. We're going to take those pieces out so they will never freeze again. And we're actually, I wanted to be able to install a frost-proof supply line. So in the event that that line would freeze and it did run water, it has an automatic shutoff in it, which they sell now in the market. And with that, we're also going to drill 2 holes. One hole is going to be drilled above the fountain on each side through the block, and that will help in convection and being able to keep air circulating through there upon we get the 25 below zero weather again. So there are some corrections that we're doing right now, and that work has just been approved and started. Hopefully that will be, if they weren't there today, they were going to be there within a week. And that will kind of prevent and solve the problem that, what it caused. So.
There we go. Can I have the YMCA come up real
Yes.
quick and go ahead
You
and
bet.
present what you have to say, and then we'll continue council conversation.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Mark Hewlett. I'm the CEO of the YMCA of Greater Kansas City. As far as shutting down for a day, we would not shut or change any temperature. So it's operating at the same temperature it would have been operating during that time. It just seems like behind the wall there was a design flaw. That's my understanding of what happened. As far as my experience, I've been with the YMCA for 22 years here in Kansas City. I've been a part of 15 to 18 different construction projects. And almost every one of those, in fact, every one of those that I'm aware of, at least since 1999, 98, 99, the flooring system that we have always put down has been the synthetic surface. It's more resilient. It allows multiple programming, and Andrea can talk more about the programming, but we've not put down a wood floor probably since the 70s or 80s, at least in the YMCAs that we've operated and or owned in the Kansas City metro. Including, as you noticed, when we redid, must have been 5, 7, 8 years ago, and added the group exercise room with the deck above that with wellness and fitness equipment, we did put in a synthetic floor there. Our architects that we've worked at, and that's just variable ones across the metro as well, that's always been the direction and recommendation. The less maintenance, the resilience for it, really about bouncing a basketball, the impact, the resiliency of it is as worthy as wood minus a few things. So we're not a Division I basketball court or an NBA court. It's a recreation court. So just from that perspective, I just wanted to make that known that for the last 22 years, this is going to be a long conversation about flooring, isn't it?
Yes.
All right, so I'll step back. Thank you for your time. I appreciate your support, and good to see everybody.
I didn't have this one marked down as the longest conversation. What else? What do we got? There we go. Councilmember Clark.
My main concern is just injury prevention, just kind of thinking, because it doesn't matter, I want to trust that maybe if you guys have been implementing this in other facilities and recreational settings, and you have maybe numbers associated, because you can't really put a cost on somebody busting their knee out or having back problems for the rest of their life or things like that. Yeah, I'm just thinking it looks like a good product, but I also don't play basketball. I'm like, ooh, let's divide it and do a soccer field, and I'm having my own ideas here inside there. But yeah, that's a thought. If there's any feedback.
No, I would say we had the old 8th Street Y in KCK did have a wood floor, and that's the only recollection I have of any water slippage, any type of knee injury that we've ever had from a general liability perspective. So just haven't seen it. Not saying it never happened, because not everybody talks about their twisted knee or their elbow, but the resiliency of it's not hardwood. It's not hardwood. It does have some flex to it. So
Perfect. Okay. So we need a couple different things. One is probably to decide or get some direction on flooring type. The second one would be how we're going to pay for it, essentially, or submit it to insurance. All right, here we go. Flooring type. What do we got?
So did I
Councilmember
miss the cost of the synthetic? Did you say that?
Our costs, from very wide estimates, and again, we'd have to go through a public process,
Sure.
400,000 to
So
half
roughly
million.
half
Yes.
for the, okay.
Yes.
So yeah, I would heavily favor the synthetic. Sorry, Amy. And I want to quickly go back to the preventing this sort of thing from happening again. Have we looked at other water fountains or any other exterior water piping? Because it looks like that's inside the block wall, inside like the full block of the exterior. Is there any insulation in the block wall, or is what Cole just passed?
There is, it's two-story, and it feeds other bathrooms. It's not just the fountains. So those are feeder lines that feed other parts of the building. They feed the upstairs bathrooms and some of the upstairs fountains.
Okay.
As far as the insulation, we are going to re-insulate everything we can get our hands on in that compartment, along with the other things that I mentioned
Is
that
this
we're going to do.
the only exterior wall piping?
There's two, yes.
This is the all of it. Okay.
Yes, this one, and then there's another fountain just similar to it right next to it.
Yeah.
They're
okay.
the only ones on that wall, yes.
Are there any other, like, in the building, exterior wall plumbing? 'Cause-
There could be, I'm not sure if it's on that side of the building. I'd have to look. I think we have some water spigots on the outside is what I'm getting at.
I
You
would,
know,
I would certainly encourage looking
Yeah.
at the rest of the exterior walls, given the
Yeah.
crazy temperatures we get,
Yeah.
and especially if the water hammer arresters are not
It
being
was,
wrapped.
yeah, it was just in that one bay that was not wrapped.
Okay, thanks.
All right, we got one on synthetic. Where else we going? What else we got? What do we got over here? Synthetic. I'm just going to go all the way around here.
I mean, the immediate feedback is just still the wear and tear on any athlete's body, any person that's using it.
Well, to that point, Kristen got hurt. I'm not, you don't have to say how many years ago.
It's not just her. No, it's,
I know, and I understand that, but synthetic flooring has come a long way over the years. I don't know that there's a higher injury occurrence on synthetic flooring versus wood. It seems that wood, as he mentioned, has a high, like water doesn't, I mean, it'll wick right on, like if you spill water on a polyurethane synthetic, or a polyurethane wood floor, it'll pool up and be prone to slippage. It just seems like this surface is going to be better for injury prevention and more resilient.
All right. What else we got on that? What are we feeling over here? I skipped you. Synthetic. All right. We feeling synthetic over here too? Councilmember Graves, please.
I'm a synthetic man myself, and then it's half the cost. It's easier to install, a lot less issues with the install and period of time. And then as far as funding it, I'm going to say the same thing that I said. We mismarked the water line at 23rd and Swift, and the apartment developer broke a water line and cost us $200,000 out of pocket. We didn't use insurance on that. This is another incident that it can cost us anywhere from, we're being told, $400,000 to $1 million, and we need to use insurance. Like, I don't, at this, we should have used insurance, in my opinion, on 23rd and Swift. This is another deal, city staff's kind of warning us not to use insurance. We have serious, like, why do we even have this insurance if we're not using it for these big ticket items? These two things combined, I mean, we're looking at possibly $1.2 million, this and Swift paying out of pocket on stuff that's insurance claims, that for some reason we feel bad for the insurance company. So, I mean, if our insurance company's that bad, then we should be shopping for a new insurance company.
Sorry. I would add, I know we've had a couple large claims already this year, but I would also, go on.
That was last year. It's 2023.
Oh, is that rollover? Is it calendar year? Are we on calendar year?
We're on calendar year.
There we go. Okay.
Yeah.
There
So,
we go.
no,
Perfect.
we don't.
Yeah, no, I would go on, but I was going to end it with, saying that I would also recommend submitting this to insurance as well. Further comments on that? We good with submitting this to insurance? Yes. Councilmember Toll, was that a hand or a, there we go. Go ahead,
Yeah, I
please.
thought we were going to, did you have anything to speak to as far as how to pay for this or recommendations? Or, I just don't, I don't want it to be said that we didn't hand stuff into insurance because we didn't want to make a claim. There was a lot going into that, and it wasn't a closed session, so I don't know how much I can speak to that. But it wasn't like, oh, we're just not going to hand it into insurance. We're just going to spend this money because we prefer to spend it out of pocket. That's not how it was. So was there a recommendation, and is there reasoning behind your recommendation?
From our conversations with our insurance carrier, we would probably recommend going the insurance right for this particular one. Again, there are not a whole lot of insurance companies that play within the municipal services world. Again, typically speaking, because of the nature of our profession, we are running toward the bullets and toward the fire, and there are not a lot of agencies that are willing to take on that kind of risk. So again, it's just some of those things that when you're talking about big ticket items, you really need to kind of be mindful. But for this particular one specifically, since we are looking at a synthetic product versus going back with a double the price wooden floor, I think kind of with this understanding, and again, this is why this is a discussion, kind of trying to get an understanding of where the city council is on what you put back, I would recommend submitting it to insurance.
Okay, here we go. Synthetic and insurance. Is there any opposition or further comments related to that, Councilmember Smith?
If we go back and go through insurance, we're installing a more resilient product. Does that play into rate discussions? Do they take that into account because it would be less expensive in the future?
I would hope so, just so the city council is aware. I mean, we do pay for general liability on that facility. That is one of the things that is outlined in the operational contract. So in addition to the operational agreement that we have with the YMCA, we pay for the general liability on that particular facility. Just also so the city council understands, this is floor number 3 for this facility, so that plays into the insurance conversations as well. What you are seeing here, the photo of that floor, that is the second floor that was installed. It was replaced by water damage before the facility even opened. So again, when they look at insurance, was the facility open? Okay, it is the second floor though, and it was replaced due to a sprinkler, from what I understand.
It was the east wall in the.
They can't hear.
Yeah.
It was the east end, be the southeast end. There's a room where they have storage room where they stored chairs and things like that, and the water pipe in there is what ruptured.
Well, there we go. All right.
So again, it's just one of those things like context matters, the history of the building matters, and definitely when you're replacing it with a more resilient product, I think that would play into the insurance conversation.
So we'll be back in a couple of years to talk about this again at this rate. Further comments? If not, I think that's all you need on that one, and we will move on to item number 17. Oh, did someone say something?
17.
No. Okay. 17.
Approving accounts due and payable by the city through March 3rd, 2023. Bill number 7756, ordinance number 9553.
First reading.
Second.
All in favor, please say yes.
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 Opposed? No. Motion carries.
An ordinance authorizing payment for certain accounts due and payable by the city through March 3rd, 2023. I will tell you the bill number and ordinance number are
7756?
wrong on the agenda, so.
Okay. So I move that bill number 7756 be placed on second and final reading and passes ordinance number 9553.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Okay.
I have it on.
Hold on, I gotta get caught up. Councilmember Roberts?
Yes.
Councilmember Clark?
Yes.
Councilmember Stokes? Yes. Councilmember Graves?
Yes.
Councilmember Saper?
Yes.
Councilmember Tull?
Yes.
Councilmember Smith?
Yes.
Councilmember Fitzgerald?
Yes.
An ordinance authorizing payment for certain accounts due and payable by the city through March 3rd, 2023.
Go. Oh, staff comments. There we go. I was trying to skip everything.
I'm going to call on the city clerk, Crystal Doss.
Okay, so tomorrow morning, starting at 7:30 is the Harrah's breakfast. Thursday.
Oh, man.
Thursday morning. I just seen if you're awake. Thursday morning at 7:30 is the Harrah's breakfast. If any of you know you're going, if you'll let me know tonight, because we haven't had a lot of RSVPs, so I need to let them know. And also, the Northland EDC State of the Cities will be March 30th at 11:30. And if anybody wants to attend, let me know so I can get you registered. We do have a table right now, so.
Fantastic.
all for
Thank
me.
you. Further staff comments?
I'd like to call in Chief Hargis.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. During the last budgeting session, we put budgeted funds to purchase replacement electric fans and saws so we could start that process of converting from two-stroke to electric. Shortly after the October, the state came out with some ARPA funds, a grant for the fire service, and we applied for a grant to purchase the electric fans. We were granted a grant of $38,608. It's a 50% match, but it will basically allow us to double what we were going to originally purchase and potentially replace all of the two-stroke engines on our trucks with electric fans and stuff. They'll all be of the same battery type as what our other tools are, so we'll already have batteries on board that are interchangeable with the fans and the saws. So I just wanted to let you know that we were awarded that grant.
There we go. Hargis always bringing in the grant dollars here. Thank you. Anthony, where's your grant? Oh, okay. What are the staff comments we got?
I just want to give a quick update on the Armor Road project out here. We are about 98% complete. The rapid rectangular flashing beacon has been installed. The new mast arm at Iron with the new detection has been installed as well. Some of the remaining items just include some final striping and the green MMA paint that designates conflict markings with the bike zones will be installed here probably in the next couple weeks.
Thank you. Further staff comments?
I'd like to just kind of give a shout out to all the city staff that is preparing for Snake Saturday this weekend. As you guys know, it is a partnership, and we have a lot of city staff that spend a lot of hours preparing for all of our visitors. So thank you to city staff.
Yes, thank you. Councilmember comments. Councilmember Roberts.
No comments.
Here we go. Councilmember Clark.
Thank you, city staff, as well. Looking forward to the first EIC meeting of the year, and welcome back, April. Thank you, Katie, for appointing. I spoke with EIC members this past weekend. They did say if there is an interested minor, anyone under the age of 18 is actually encouraged to join a subcommittee, but they would prefer 18 and over to serve on the actual EIC. So that's just a heads up there, and looking forward to a chilly Snake Saturday.
Thank you. Councilmember Stokes.
No comments.
Councilmember Graves.
I'm good, man. Let's go home.
Thank you. Councilmember Saper.
No comment.
Councilmember Toll.
No comment.
Councilmember Smith.
Congrats on the grants, Chief Hargis. You should begin tying your compensation to how many you bring in. That's all for me.
Councilmember Fitzgerald.
I believe tomorrow is the deadline to register to vote for the April election. So just a reminder for anybody, if you haven't done that, there's city council and a parks tax among other things on there. So.
All right, that leaves me. We're having a parade this Saturday, Snake Saturday Parade, 11 a.m. Hope to see a lot of people out. Hopefully get about 15 degrees between now and the weather forecast I originally saw, and that rain goes somewhere else. So look forward to seeing everyone on Saturday. With that, we'll move to item number 21.
Consideration of a request to hold and recess into an executive session is requested by the acting city administrator to be held on this date on a real estate matter pursuant to Missouri Revised Statute, Section 610.0212.
So moved.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Roberts?
Yes.
Councilmember Clark?
Yes.
Councilmember Stokes?
Yes.
Councilmember Graves?
Yes.
Councilmember Saper?
Yes.
Councilmember Toll?
Yes.
Councilmember Smith?
Yes.
Councilmember Fitzgerald?
Yes.
Item number 22 is being removed. Item 23 is also being removed, taking us to item number 24.
Consideration of a request to hold and recess into an executive session is requested by the acting city administrator to be held on this date on a non-judicial mental or physical health proceeding pursuant to Missouri Revised Statute, Section 610.0215.
So moved.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Councilmember Roberts?
Yes.
Councilmember Clark?
Yes.
Councilmember Stokes?
Yes.
Councilmember Graves?
Yes.
Councilmember Saper?
Yes.
Councilmember Toll?
Yes.
Councilmember Smith?
Yes.
Councilmember Fitzgerald?
Yes.
Perfect, thank you. And for everyone watching home, the Channel 2 feed and the YouTube feed will cut off momentarily. There will be no further public business or votes taken this evening. Thank you.